When we observe individuals we deem successful, the athletes who consistently appear more robust, the entrepreneurs who persistently push forward, the artists who craft works that resonate globally, it's simple to assume they pursued the same objectives we all do: medals, records, success, admiration. However, the reality is they are not driven by the objective itself. They are propelled by something more profound, something enduring. They are guided by a purpose. Purpose isn't about what we accomplish, it's about why we even start. When a marathon runner approaches the starting line, the aim is clear: complete the race, perhaps even triumph. But if that's all they cared about, one bad day, one challenging mile, or one pulled muscle would be sufficient to make them quit. The reason they persist, even when every part of their body urges them to stop, is that finishing the race holds a deeper significance for them. Maybe it's evidence to themselves that they are stronger than their fears. Maybe it's a commitment they made to a younger self who once believed they couldn't. Maybe it's a lesson they aim to impart to their children: never back down from something just because it's tough. Goals can be thrilling, but excitement diminishes. Purpose endures. Goals are destinations, but purpose is the fuel that propels you there and, more crucially, keeps you moving when the path becomes rough. If you are solely chasing a goal, you will push yourself on the good days when everything feels aligned and the sun is shining. But if you are driven by a purpose, you will push yourself every day, even when it's raining, even when you're tired, even when no one is watching. There's a tale about a young woman who aspired to become a surgeon. For her, it wasn't about the prestige of the title or the paycheck that would follow. It was about something much deeper. When she was a child, she had watched helplessly as her younger brother suffer from a condition no one seemed to understand. She had promised herself that someday she would be the kind of doctor who could help someone else's brother. Through the endless nights of study, the crushing exams, the moments of doubt when it would have been easier to quit, she didn't stay because she loved tests or because she feared failure. She stayed because she had a reason bigger than herself, a reason that made every hard day meaningful. Purpose makes discipline easier, not because the work is less demanding, but because the meaning behind the work is so much greater. Winners wake up and grind not because they love the grind, but because they love what the grind represents. Every early morning, every extra rep, every hour spent perfecting a skill that most people will never see. It's all a reflection of what they believe deep down, that their journey matters, that their mission is bigger than the momentary pain. It's tempting to look at successful people and think they have some magical power, that maybe they were born with more talent, more drive, more resilience. But if you dig deeper, you find that the common thread between them isn't magic, it's purpose. They know why they're doing what they're doing, and that clarity, that inner compass, keeps them moving when everything else inside them is screaming to stop. If you want to push yourself like a winner, start not with what you want to achieve, but why you want to achieve it. Ask yourself what it would mean if you reached your goal, and not just to you, but to the people around you, to the person you will become. Ask yourself what it would cost if you didn't pursue it. If you quit halfway, what would that say about what you stand for? Because when your purpose is clear, your pain becomes bearable. When your why is strong enough, your how becomes possible. The difference between winners and everyone else is not that winners love hard work. It's that winners have found something worth working hard for. It's easy to show up when you're winning. It's much harder when you're losing, when progress feels invisible, when you question whether you're even moving at all. Purpose is what carries you through the silence, through the doubt, through the parts of the journey that are messy and frustrating and exhausting. You will meet days when the temptation to settle is strong, when the idea of giving up feels almost logical, when the energy just isn't there. In those moments, you won't find strength by staring harder at your goal. You'll find it by remembering your purpose, why you started, why it matters, why quitting isn't an option. A goal might inspire you today. Purpose will inspire you every day. If you're serious about pushing yourself like winners do, you need to build a relationship with your purpose. You need to wake up to it, think about it, remind yourself of it when things get hard, write it down, talk about it. Make it so real in your mind that when the obstacles show up, and they will, your purpose is louder than your fear. It's not about never falling. It's about having a reason to get up one more time than you fall. It's about knowing that the discomfort you feel now is a small price to pay for the life you're building, the person you're becoming, the impact you are making. Winners don't wake up every day excited. They don't bounce out of bed with endless motivation. They wake up with a reason that makes today's struggle worth it, a reason that makes the sacrifice make sense. Find your reason, protect it, feed it, let it be the thing that fuels you even when everything else inside you says it's easier to quit. Because at the end of the day, winners aren't people who had it easier. They are the people who had a reason not to give up. Now, there's a lie we often tell ourselves when we look at success. We imagine that it happens in big, dramatic moments: the winning touchdown, the standing ovation, the book hitting the bestseller list. We love these moments because they are exciting, clear, and undeniable. But the real story of winning doesn't happen there. It happens long before, in the small, ordinary, almost invisible moments, the ones nobody claps for, the ones nobody sees. We have been conditioned to believe that greatness comes from intensity, from massive effort, big gestures, heroic sacrifices. And while those moments have their place, they are not the foundation of success. The foundation is consistency, showing up day after day, especially when the feeling of excitement fades, especially when it's easier to look the other way. Consistency requires humility because there is nothing glamorous about it. It's easy to get excited about running a marathon tomorrow. It's much harder to lace up your shoes today and tomorrow and the next day with no medal around your neck, no roaring crowd, just you and the road. It's hard because consistency asks us to trust the process without constant proof that it's working. It asks us to plant seeds without immediately seeing the harvest. There's a story about a man who decided he wanted to get in shape. Inspired by a documentary about elite athletes, he designed an extreme workout plan. Day 1, he gave it everything he had, 2 hours in the gym, pushing through pain. He left exhausted but proud. Day 2, sore but motivated, he did it again. By day 3, he could barely move. By day 4, he quit. He burned bright and fast, but not long enough to change anything. Now, contrast that with another man who decided to change his life differently. He started with 20 minutes a day. It wasn't impressive. It wasn't exciting. Some days, it didn't even feel like it counted. But he stayed with it, day after day, week after week. Months later, the change became visible. Not because he gave one massive effort, but because he made a small promise to himself and kept it over and over again. The difference between the two isn't talent or even desire, it's strategy. It's understanding that long-term success isn't about how hard you can go in a single moment. It's about how faithfully you can show up for yourself over time. Consistency builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're sending a message to your own mind. I can rely on me. I keep my word. I am someone who finishes what I start. And that self-trust becomes the bedrock of resilience. It's what gives you the strength to keep pushing even when the results are slow to appear. Winners don't rely on bursts of inspiration. They create systems that make showing up non-negotiable. They don't wait to feel motivated. They build habits that move them forward even when motivation is nowhere to be found. They understand that motivation is a spark, but consistency is the fire that keeps burning. And here's the beautiful part: consistency compounds. It's not just the act of showing up every day, it's the effect of all those days stacking on top of each other, creating momentum, building strength, sharpening skills. What feels small today becomes powerful tomorrow. What feels invisible today becomes undeniable later. There's a temptation in all of us to want fast results, to believe that with enough intensity, we can shortcut the journey. But growth doesn't care about shortcuts. Excellence doesn't care about how fast you want it. The things that matter most are earned slowly through steady, patient work. If you only push yourself when you feel like it, you won't get very far. Feelings are fleeting. Some mornings you'll wake up excited. Other mornings you'll wake up tired, frustrated, questioning everything. Winners have learned to honor their commitments more than their feelings. They push through the lows because they understand that one day those lows will make the highs even sweeter. Success isn't built in the heroic moments, it's built in the quiet ones, the early mornings when you choose to get up, the late nights when you choose to finish the work, the small, boring tasks you choose to do with excellence instead of rushing through them. That's where winning lives, in the choices nobody applauds but that change everything. If you want to push yourself like winners do, commit to showing up every day. Not perfectly, not with the intensity of a raging storm, just consistently, like a steady rain that nourishes the ground until something beautiful grows. Intensity is impressive, consistency is transformative. The next time you feel the urge to make a grand gesture, to push hard for a day and hope it's enough, stop and ask yourself, what small thing can I do today that I can also do tomorrow, and the next day, and the next? Build from there, brick by brick, day by day. Because the people who make it, the real winners, aren't the ones who go the hardest once. They are the ones who go steadily, purposefully, relentlessly, again and again and again. Not because every day feels extraordinary, but because they understand that consistency over time creates something that intensity alone never can: mastery. And when you build mastery, when you show up enough times that the work becomes a part of you, when the habits become the culture of your life, that's when you start winning every single day. Not because of a single moment of glory, but because of the 1,000 invisible moments you never gave up. Growth is a word we love. It sounds powerful, exciting, full of potential. But the part we don't talk about enough is where growth actually lives. It doesn't live in comfort. It doesn't live in ease. Growth lives in discomfort, in struggle, in the moments when we feel stretched beyond what we thought we could handle. Most people say they want to grow. They say they want to be stronger, smarter, more capable. But the moment discomfort shows up, the moment the path gets steep, the challenge feels overwhelming, the uncertainty creeps in, most people turn back. They mistake discomfort for a sign that something's wrong. Winners see it differently. They recognize discomfort for what it is, the doorway to transformation. Think about how muscles grow. If you lift a weight that's too light, one that never challenges you, your muscles stay the same. They don't need to adapt. But when you lift something heavy, something that pushes your limits, tiny tears form in the muscle fibers. It sounds painful because it is, but it's exactly that pain, that tiny breakdown, that signals your body to rebuild itself stronger than before. But without the discomfort, there is no growth. Without the struggle, there is no strength. Life works the same way. Every time you step into discomfort, every time you choose the harder conversation, the unfamiliar skill, the bigger challenge, you are inviting growth. You are telling yourself, I am willing to be uncomfortable today so I can be better tomorrow. Winners understand that discomfort is not the enemy, comfort is. Comfort is the silent trap that convinces you you're fine as you are. It whispers to you to stay where it's safe, where it's familiar, where you're not challenged. And if you listen to it too long, you start to shrink. Your dreams shrink, your confidence shrinks, your potential shrinks. There's a story about a young man who wanted to become a professional musician. He loved the idea of performing on stage, of feeling the energy of the crowd. But every time he sat down to practice, he avoided the hard parts, the scales that felt clumsy, the pieces that made his fingers ache. Instead, he played the songs he already knew, the ones that felt easy and familiar. And after a while, he wondered why he wasn't getting better. It wasn't because he lacked talent, it's because he lacked the willingness to live in discomfort long enough to get to the next level. Now contrast that with a young woman learning to code. She had no background in technology. Every lesson felt confusing. Every project felt like a mountain. She spent nights frustrated, doubting herself, wanting to give up. But she stayed with the discomfort. She leaned into it. She understood that the frustration was not a sign she was failing. It was a sign she was learning. Over time, the same projects that once felt impossible became manageable, even easy. Not because the work got easier, but because she got stronger. The difference between those two people wasn't intelligence or opportunity. It was the relationship with discomfort. Winners don't love discomfort. They're not masochists, but they respect it. They understand that every moment of tension, every moment of fear, every moment of struggle is an investment in their future selves. They learn to sit with the uncertainty, the awkwardness, the failure, because they know it's shaping them into someone more capable, more resilient, more ready. If you want to push yourself every day like winners do, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to make discomfort your companion, not your enemy. You have to recognize that as the price of admission for a bigger, bolder life. The next time you feel that knot in your stomach, that hesitation, that voice that says, "This is too hard," don't back away. Lean in. Step toward it. Remind yourself that this is what growth feels like. It's messy, it's uncertain, it's uncomfortable, and it's worth it. Discomfort is where you find out what you're made of. It's where you discover abilities you didn't know you had. It's where your confidence is built, not by success alone, but by surviving the moments when success felt out of reach. One of the greatest shifts you can make in your life is to stop asking, "How can I avoid discomfort?" and start asking, "Where is the discomfort calling me to grow?" That single mindset change can transform the way you approach every challenge, every opportunity, every day. Discomfort doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're in the process of becoming something stronger. It means you are stretching beyond what you thought was possible. Winners are not fearless. They feel fears just like everyone else. But they have taught themselves to fear stagnation more than they fear failure. They have decided that a life lived safely inside the boundaries of comfort is no life at all. They would rather stumble forward into the unknown than sit perfectly still in the known. Every great story of achievement is also a story of someone who endured discomfort longer than everyone else. Someone who stayed in the arena when it would have been easier to walk away. Someone who chose courage over comfort again and again. Growth and discomfort are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. So if your goal is to grow, if your goal is to become someone extraordinary, then you must make peace with being uncomfortable. You must be willing to fail publicly, to risk looking foolish, to try things you're not good at, to face moments of doubt and still move forward. That is where greatness is born. Not in the easy victories, but in the hard-fought battles you have with yourself. The greatest thing discomfort teaches us is that we are capable of more than we think. Every time you step through discomfort, you expand your understanding of who you are and what you can handle. And over time, you realize something powerful. Discomfort isn't just the price you pay for growth, it's the gift that makes growth possible. When we talk about talent, we often think of things that come naturally. A beautiful singing voice, lightning-fast reflexes, a photographic memory. We look at people who seem gifted and assume they have some secret advantage the rest of us don't. But if you study winners long enough, you'll discover something surprising. Their real advantage isn't raw talent, it's self-discipline. Self-discipline is the hidden talent that doesn't show up in the highlight reels. It's not flashy, it doesn't make for dramatic headlines, but it's the quiet force that builds extraordinary lives. It's the skill behind all the skills, the talent behind all the talents. And the best part is, it's not something you're born with, it's something you build. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for the right mood, the right time, the right feeling. Winners don't wait, they act. They understand that discipline is about doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. There's a story of a writer who dreamed of publishing a novel. every few months, she would get a burst of inspiration and write feverishly for a few days. Then life would get busy, the excitement would wear off, and the project would collect dust. She had talent, she had ideas, what she didn't have was discipline. So her dream stayed a dream. Contrast that with another writer who decided she would write 500 words a day no matter what. Good days, bad days, busy days, tired days, it didn't matter. Some days the words flowed easily, other days they came painfully slow, but she stayed consistent. And in less than a year, she finished her book. Not because she was the most talented writer, but because she was the most disciplined. The difference wasn't in their potential, it was in their practice. Self-discipline is about making promises to yourself and keeping them. It's about showing up for yourself when it'd be easier to make excuses. It's about choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort again and again. Talent may open the first door, but discipline is what keeps you walking down the hall when every step gets harder. One of the most powerful things winners understand is that the feeling of wanting to quit is not a reason to quit. It's just a feeling. It passes. And every time you push through that feeling, you build a deeper trust with yourself. You strengthen your ability to stay committed to something bigger than your mood. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about getting knocked off track and choosing to get back on over and over again. It's about missing a day and not letting it become two. It's about recognizing that success isn't the result of a few massive decisions, but of thousands of small ones. Tiny acts of discipline stacked one on top of the other until they form a life you're proud of. One of the greatest misconceptions about winners is that they're constantly fueled by passion. They're not. Passion fades, excitement wears off. What keeps them moving is discipline. Passion might start the engine, but discipline keeps the wheels turning long after the road gets rough. Self-discipline is hard because it requires us to sacrifice the comfort of now for the promise of later. It asks us to say no to things that feel good in the moment but steal from our future. It asks us to endure boredom, repetition, and frustration without immediate reward. And that's why it's so rare. That's why it's so powerful. Anyone can be disciplined when it's easy, when the conditions are perfect, when the rewards are immediate. But the real test is whether you can be disciplined when it's boring, when it's hard, when it feels like no one is watching and no one cares. Because that's when winners are made. Not in moments of glory, but in moments of grit. There's a reason military training is built on discipline. It's not just about physical strength, it's about mental toughness, about teaching individuals to act according to values and commitments, not according to feelings and moods. About creating habits so ingrained that when pressure comes, the response is automatic. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your training. And your training, your real training, is your daily discipline. If you want to push yourself like winners do, stop asking yourself, do I feel like it? Start asking, what did I commit to? Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start building perfect habits. Self-discipline isn't glamorous. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's saying no to distractions when everyone else says yes. It's choosing to do the right thing over the easy thing again and again, without applause, without recognition, simply because you said you would. And here's the irony. The more disciplined you become, the more freedom you create for yourself. When you master yourself, you stop being a slave to your circumstances, to your emotions, to your excuses. You gain the freedom to move, to build, to lead, to live intentionally. Discipline is not about control, it's about empowerment. It's about standing in front of your own life and saying, I choose my future, I choose my path, I choose my actions, even when they are hard, even when no one is pushing me, even when no one is watching. Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to force you to chase your dreams, to build your skills, to honor your potential. That responsibility, that privilege belongs to you. And self-discipline is how you honor it. It's not the loudest talent, it's not the flashiest talent, but over time, it becomes the most powerful talent. The one that separates those who almost did from those who actually do. The one that turns dreams into reality, potential into performance, wishes into wins. Self-discipline is not about being the smartest, the strongest, or the fastest. It's about being the one who keeps showing up, the one who keeps pushing, the one who keeps the promises made in the quiet moments long after the world has stopped watching. And in the end, that's what makes all the difference. When most people encounter a problem, their instinct is to stop, to complain, to wait for someone else to fix it. Problems feel like barriers. They feel like a signal that something is wrong, that it's time to back away. But winners see something different. Winners see problems as proof of progress. They understand that problems aren't obstacles to avoid. They are opportunities to grow, to learn, to lead. It's a simple but profound shift. Most of us have been trained to believe that a smooth path is a sign we're doing something right. But if you think about it, the opposite is often true. If the road is too smooth, you're probably not pushing yourself far enough. Growth lives at the edge of challenge. It lives in the places where problems appear. Imagine a child learning to walk. Every stumble, every fall, every bump is a problem. And yet, we don't tell the child to give up. We don't say, maybe walking isn't for you. We celebrate the struggle because we understand that every fall is a step closer to mastery. Somewhere along the way, as we grow older, we forget that. We start thinking that falling means failure instead of realizing that falling is part of the forward motion. Winners never forget. They see every problem as a signpost that they are moving beyond where they've been. They know that progress and problems are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. There's a story about two entrepreneurs who started businesses at the same time. Both were excited, both were passionate. But within a few months, they both ran into the inevitable problems: cash flow issues, marketing challenges, competition. One of them grew frustrated. He kept asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And eventually, he shut down his business and said he would try again when conditions were better. The other entrepreneur asked a different question. What is this trying to teach me? She treated every setback as feedback. Every problem became a puzzle to solve. Every failure became a lesson to integrate. She didn't expect the journey to be easy. She expected it to be hard. And she welcomed the hardness as part of her growth. Years later, she built something lasting. Not because she avoided problems, but because she mined them for wisdom. The difference wasn't in how many problems they faced. It was in how they chose to see them. Winners don't love problems. They're not naive. They feel the frustration like anyone else. But they've trained themselves to recognize that their greatest leaps forward often come disguised as setbacks. They don't see a problem and say, "This is the end." They say, "This is the beginning of something better." One of the most powerful things you can do in your life is to stop reacting to problems like emergencies and start responding to them like invitations. Invitations to think differently, to stretch yourself, to find new ways forward. Because every time you solve a real problem, you don't just get past it. You become someone stronger, smarter, and more resilient. This mindset isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything is perfect when it isn't. It's about choosing to stay in the game, eyes open, heart open, ready to learn, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain. If you think about every major advancement in human history, every invention, every innovation, every breakthrough, it all started with a problem. A need that wasn't met, a challenge that demanded a new solution. Winners understand that every problem they face puts them in the company of innovators, of builders, of leaders. And it's not just about solving problems for yourself. The greatest leaders solve problems for others. They don't just think, "How can I get through this?" They ask, "How can I use what I'm learning to lift others, to serve others, to build something bigger than myself?" Every time you choose to see progress where others see problems, you position yourself to lead, to inspire, to leave things better than you found them. He's a leader who built one of the most impactful organizations in the world. And when asked how he managed to overcome so many obstacles, he gave a simple answer. Every obstacle was a lesson in disguise. Every problem was a doorway to a deeper kind of success. That mindset is available to all of us. It's not reserved for a few special people. It's a choice, a hard choice, but a powerful one. The next time you face a problem, and you will, notice your first reaction. Notice if you feel the pull to complain, to blame, to quit. And then pause. Remind yourself, this is not a dead end. This is a fork in the road. This is a chance to grow into someone who doesn't just survive problems, but thrive because of them. The bigger the dream, the bigger the problems. That's not a flaw. That's the system working as it should. Problems are a sign you're playing a big enough game to matter. If you're not encountering problems, it probably means you're playing too small. Winners aren't fearless, they're problem solvers. They move toward challenges when others move away. They ask better questions, they stay longer in the discomfort. They refuse to be defined by what goes wrong. Instead, they define themselves by how they rise to meet it. And every problem they face becomes a brick in the foundation of a life built on strength, courage, and purpose. Problems are not punishments, they are possibilities. They are not signs that you're failing, they are signs that you are in the arena doing the hard and meaningful work of becoming who you're meant to be. Progress and problems walk hand in hand. And when you learn to see that, really see that, there is almost nothing you cannot overcome.